you can't follow your schedule, there's a good chance you've misunderstood a crucial perspective on time management. In fact, what most people don't realize is that creating schedules in the wrong way can actually make your time management worse. You can have the perfect app, everything time blocked, Pomodoro every waking moment of your day, and still be falling behind, feeling overwhelmed, always busy, but never on top of your work. And in fact, trying to catch up can sometimes make you fall behind even more, which is counterintuitive. But you're not alone. It's very, very common. Every week, I will see hundreds of students and professionals that struggle with their time management, that are never able to stick with their schedules, and almost all of them are just making the same 2 or 3 core mistakes. But once you fix these 2 or 3 mistakes, you will feel much more in control over your time and your energy, and you'll feel much more confident to be able to handle when unexpected things pop up. So here is how you should actually follow your schedule. I'm going to use a schedule here that a student sent me previously as an example. Have a look at this and see if you can spot where the problems are. The schedule was sent to me by Philip, who is an accountant. They've been interested in learning about machine learning as well. They're looking at doing a career change, but they were really struggling to balance work and study at the same time. They always felt like they were falling behind. They always felt like they were trying to balance work and study, but compromising on both of them. And he said that even though it's super organized here as time blocks and like everything's color coded nicely, he said that it was very, very rare for him to actually be able to follow a schedule and get everything done for more than 2 or 3 days at a time. And actually, if your schedule looks like this and you came to me with those problems, that to me is a red flag. So let me break this down and show you what I'm seeing here. The first mistake, which I think should be obvious to probably most of you, is that Philip chose to be an accountant. I'm kidding, relax. An accountant is a great profession if you like to be boring. I'm joking, chill out. There's nothing wrong with being boring. Okay, so the first thing, seriously, is just the schedule in itself is very, very packed. It's organized and it's meticulous, but I made this video a while ago on how I tried to schedule my time like Elon Musk apparently did in these like 5-minute intervals. Very overwhelming, very unsustainable. Here's the issue with this. This is called overscheduling. And overscheduling is basically when there are too many things that you're trying to get done in a single day and it's no longer realistic. If you overschedule, you will not be productive for very long. Here's the reason. Overscheduling has very little wiggle room. There's no margin for error, which means when unexpected things pop up, and they will, because that's life, we have to then reschedule and reorganize everything. And so not only does this create a lot more stress and burden because we're constantly having to reorganize and replan, but it wastes a lot of time. So for example, if you look at this schedule, you can see that he's got this block here for looking at lectures, 5 to 6:30. Now, one of the things that he told me is that sometimes he's working late, so he doesn't actually have time to get through the lectures here. But he still schedules it at this place, which is a risky move. But if he's not able to cover his lectures, that means all the other things in his schedule for really the whole week need to get shifted out because it's all so tight. There's no wiggle room. And so one of the most important principles whenever you're doing any scheduling is that you have to have a wide margin of error. And for beginners, I honestly recommend estimating a task to take double the time that you initially expect it to take. Worst case scenario, it actually takes that long. And now it's going according to your plans. Best case scenario, you finish faster and now you've got more free time that you can use to get more things done or maybe relax or whatever you want to do. But when you don't do that and when you're just overscheduling, it makes it almost impossible to really plan. And every day you will feel like you are just trying to catch up because probably every day there are little things that are throwing your schedule into disarray and you are legitimately having to reorganize and micromanage all of your existing tasks. Even if you're really good at micromanaging and adapting, it's not ideal because that takes you out of deep flow and focused work. One of the big principles about deep flow is that you want to do your planning up front so that throughout the day, you can focus on just executing and getting it done. But if after every task, you're now having to reevaluate what the next task you need to do is, that's going to actually reduce your efficiency by a pretty considerable amount because you're never really able to stay in flow. Now, when I tell people to schedule less and to overestimate the time things are going to take, inevitably it means they're not able to fit everything that they wanted to do during that day. And so they say, okay, but Justin, I've got so much I need to do. What am I meant to do with this? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Overscheduling creates a fantasy world. Here's the thing. You're already falling behind. This schedule is going to make you fall behind. A schedule is not some magical device like a death note of scheduling where you write it down, and just because it's been written down, like it's executed on by some kind of divine power. Just because you wrote it down doesn't mean anything. If you've got an exam coming up in 2 weeks and you've got 3 years worth of material to study in the next 2 weeks, that's just not realistic. It's not possible. And it is crucial that we don't trick ourselves into thinking that we can execute at a certain pace, at a certain speed, with a certain level of rigor without making any errors, like this mythical version of ourselves, that's able to just like perform at our peak, a level we've never experienced before. It's not realistic or responsible to assume we can do that. We have to know when we are going to lose. And this is incredibly, incredibly important. If you can't win the game, you can at least plan to win the championship. And to do that, you have to pick your losses, which Philip did not do. And this is the other mistake that most people are making, is that they're not actively deciding where and when they are going to lose. Because losing doesn't feel good. We want to get everything done. I totally understand that. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. Something is going to give, and it's better to be in control of what is being sacrificed rather than being forced to sacrifice everything. So even though it doesn't feel good to pick your losses, it's still necessary, and it's better to plan for the worst and hope for the best than to be left falling behind, having to frantically and suddenly now re-plan for how you're going to recover from it. So when I told all this to Philip, he was very reluctant to change his ways. He was afraid of that loss, again, which I can completely understand, but again, still necessary. And I know this because I've had so many people with the exact same issues, with the exact same reservations, and when they don't fix it, it doesn't change. Every time, every month, they're just continually falling further and further behind. But when they start scheduling this way, yes, it doesn't feel good for the short term, but eventually they're able to make up for it because now their plans are realistic. These are certain principles that I talk about in a lot of my other videos. By the way, I've got a fully comprehensive program teaching you these frameworks and strategies for time management, focus management, and learning skills on icanstudy.com. I go through principles like this all the way from the basic to more advanced, fleshing out all the mistakes that I personally made so that hopefully you don't have to. So if you're interested in building a self-management system for yourself that actually really works, then you can learn a little bit more at icanstudy.com. I'll put a link in the description. So now, what's the change that Philip made that made him much more confident with his time management? If you have a look at the schedule again, you might notice something. I didn't notice it at first. It's the fact that he spends a lot of time in a single week just reviewing his notes. You can see he's got a lecture here, he's consolidating his notes. He's got a lecture here, he's consolidating his notes. And then he's reviewing those same notes again here and here, and then he's also reviewing the same notes again here. So in a single week, he's having to review his notes like 3 or 4 times because he feels like that's the only way that he can get it into his head and remember it and understand it. And you can see he's also supplementing that with flashcards opportunistically throughout the day as well. So look, good on him for being so proactive with his studying. For him, the main issue is that he is spending a lot of time on learning because of the fact that he does not know how to learn during the lectures themselves, which is causing him to forget so much. And now he's just compensating for it. So his loss that he picked was his study time. He chose to sacrifice about 3 hours of studying per week and reinvest that time on learning how to learn during lectures more effectively. So now, 2 months on from working on this, he's in a much better position because he's caught up and he's better off than he was before because he fundamentally doesn't need to spend so much time studying anymore. And so those 3 hours a week he sacrificed short term have been made up for in the efficiency gains long term. And that gain is going to last for him for life. It's not an easy decision. It wasn't easy for Philip, but it's about putting yourself in a position where you are in control of what happens rather than playing defense and simply reacting to what happens. I hope this helps. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.